All right, I'm gonna level with y'all real quick. Everybody keeps on talking about how this Madam Web movie is bad, but really the crux of the thing is that the Madam Web movie is probably the stupidest movie I have watched in a long time, and honestly, might be ever. So we're gonna talk some spoilers here and talk about the 6 of the dumbest things that I've seen for the Madam Web movie. The first thing is this, man. Cassie, the main character, she's an EMT that couldn't be more annoyed with the fact that she had to help people. She was an EMT that ultimately didn't really want to help anybody. She makes it awkward in the very beginning when she saves the life of like a mother or father, and then the child gives her like a thank you note, and then she just gets like, she's like, what am I supposed to do with this? Like, what am I supposed to, what exactly am I supposed to do with this? The girls that she quote unquote saves from being killed by Ezekiel Sims, she was annoyed by the fact that they were like, oh, some of them were like, oh, thank you so much for your help, or the other part of it where she just wanted to kind of just get rid of them. Like, she didn't really want to help them at all, knowing that if she left them alone that they were probably gonna end up dying, right? It's just like the character didn't make any sense to me. She's an EMT that didn't want to help people, specifically the girls that she was supposed to ultimately save and help. Wasn't very good writing and didn't make any sense to me. Then let's talk about Ezekiel Sims, right? So Ezekiel Sims is the bad guy. She ultimately kills her mother in a very opening scene and steals the spider from her. He gets powers, blah, 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 blah. We fast forward here into the future. He starts having these visions and these dreams about how these 3 spider girls are ultimately going to end up killing him in the end. So he's on this mission now to try to stop these girls from killing him. And somehow, although he's never seen these girls before in real life, is able to use technology in 2003 to conjure up the faces of these girls that he's never seen in real life with using this NSA device. I don't understand how that made sense. They never really even explained the technology, even though some of it might have gone over our heads, but they didn't even really explain exactly how this technology worked. Like, how in the hell was he able to conjure up these faces of these girls when he never saw them? He only saw them in his dreams. It baffled my mind, bro. I couldn't understand it. And then let's fast forward back to Cassie Webb, right? So Ezekiel Sims tries to kill these girls on the train. She saves them, but it looks like she kind of kidnapped them a little bit, right? That was what the reports were on the radio. But then she drives these girls out into the woods. And once again, because she didn't really want to help them, she leaves the girls there and says that she's gonna come back in 3 hours, which she does. But the whole premise of that sounds really dumb, right? 3 teenage girls who don't really know each other, don't also know you. And it made sense from a plot writing perspective to put the girls or leave the girls in the woods for hours. Literally, that's like how a horror movie starts, right? I was looking for Freddy to just pop up in the back and just come in and try to kill him. I'm like, why do you leave these 3 teenage girls in the woods by themselves? I don't understand it. Once again, it just did not make any freaking sense to me. And then once again, we fast forward here to where now Madam Web, Cassie, she travels to Peru. Here's the reason why this doesn't make sense. On the radio, after she gets the girls and before she leaves them in the woods for 3 hours, right? This is what happens. There's a radio announcement that basically says that this woman is wanted, that they're looking for Cassie Webb. They give like a description of what she looks like and to be on the lookout for her and all of that. This woman was then able to travel to Peru post 9/11. Let's talk about this. This movie is in 2003. 9/11 happened 2 years prior to that. And she was able to just get on a plane and travel to Peru. And nobody saw her. Nobody noticed her. She wasn't flagged for anything. How the F does that make any sense? You know how? It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Nobody was able to just see itself. And you know how strict things got after 9/11. And she was easy, just able to do that. Another thing about this is to me is this. It's an action movie that didn't have really any action. And you might say, nah, bro, like you missed it. Cause like it was action that was there. You know, that time when she drove the entire ambulance truck and then randomly just do exactly what it hit Ezekiel Sims. You know, there was this time where she was on the, no, that was it. That's actually, that was the entire action of the movie. I just explained, you see what I did? I explained the entire action of the movie. I can't remember any other time that there was actual action. It was also a superhero movie. Now, for those, let's pause here for a second. For those who wanted to see Sydney Sweeney in all her Sydney Sweeney-esque, you got to see her in her suit for all about 3 seconds. It was nice. It was glorious. You may have to rewind it a couple times, play it again, rewind it a couple to first so that you can see it. It was a superhero movie with no superheroes. Now, if you kind of watched the trailer, you kind of had an idea that you weren't really going to be seeing these women suit up in a sense, but we kind of expected that maybe they might have, you know, fast forwarded to that point. This just brings me to the point of this too. Like, Madam Web is not that interesting of a character to kind of make an entire movie about. Interesting character to be part of like a supporting cast and helping Spider-Man or helping other Spider-Woman, whatever the case is. But really, as like a main movie, it didn't make sense that they even made this movie. It was an action movie with no action. It was a superhero movie with really no superheroing whatsoever. Once again, that made this incredibly stupid and dumb. Now, the next thing I'm going to talk about here is, so in the movie, right, the reason why her mother was in Peru in 1993, where she then traveled to go get some answers, right? That's why Cassie traveled there in 2003, post 9/11, without anybody noticing her. I digress. But she in the opening part of the movie, her mother is pregnant with her and she's in Peru. She's looking for the spider, right? And that spider ultimately ends up biting her. And then that's how the way that her Cassie that was in her belly was able to be healed, because she was diagnosed while she was pregnant. She was diagnosed that her daughter Cassie was gonna have myasthenia gravis in her womb, which is a disease that ultimately would have left her paralyzed and also would have left her blind, right? So she gets healed from this condition because of that spider, because the spider biting her mother while she was pregnant with her, and then she delivered her, and then Cassie was able to grow up not being paralyzed and not being blind, only to then paralyze her and blind her at the end of the movie. What the literal F was that? How does that make sense? You go through this whole entire process of healing her in the mother's womb, only to then injure her again at the very end of the movie. Oh my gosh, this movie was so dumb, guys. This movie was so dumb. And I tried, guys. I said, you know what? We made a video on the old channel where we talked about how, you know, Madam Web could actually be really important. But no, this movie wasn't important. People told me and said that this movie wasn't as bad as Morbius. It was worse. The movie was worse, guys. It was worse than Morbius. Sony, stop making movies. Stop making Spider-Man movies. Go back to the animated stuff, please. If you're making any superhero content, make animation stuff. I can't do this no more. Listen, that's it. Thank you guys for coming to my tech talk. Watch this other videos on the channel here where we talk about some better things, right? Where we talk about some of the most despicable characters that need to be thrown into the proverbial pit. Some of your favorites, Scarlet Witch. We talk about Doctor Strange. We even talk about Homelander, guys. Check out that video on the channel here. I'm GoofyRhexxi, and thanks so much, guys, for kicking it with Keepin' It Comic. Man, this movie was dumb. Bye.